Let's take example number 1. So we are required to simplify. We are given the sine of 80 multiplied by the sine of 40 minus the sine of 10 degrees multiplied by the sine of 50 degrees. So before we proceed, if we look at these angles here, they're not the same. If we look at this is 80 and here we have 10. Here we have 40 and this side we have 50. So the first thing that we must know is that we have to express these angles here in terms of these ones which are on the right. What do I mean by that? I mean that I have to express everything to be in terms of 80 and 50. 80 and 50. So how should I do that? So we're going to implement the concept of cofunctions. The cofunction of sine is cos. And we're going to implement also the idea of complementary angles. So the sum of two angles must give us 90 degrees. Here, we're going to replace sine of 40. We're going to replace it by cos of 50 because 40 plus 50 is 90 degrees. And our reasoning here is that sine and cos are cofunctions. 40 and 50 are complementary angles. Here we say the sine of 10 degrees is the same as the cos of 80 degrees because the cofunction of sine is cos and angle 10 degrees and angle 80 degrees, their sum gives us 90 degrees. So we can see 10 degrees and 80 degrees are complementary angles. If two angles complement one another, the sine of this angle must be the same as the cos of this angle. And here we leave the sine 50 as it is. Now, when we go to the formula sheet, we're going to see that actually this is subtractional formula for sine. That is why we write sine here with the yellow color. Then inside what we put, our 80 is alpha, 50 is our beta from the formula sheet. I'm sure when you are reversing this, you have your formula sheet with you so that you can see these formulas clearly. This is our alpha, this is our beta. So here we now say 80 minus 50, we subtract the 2, and then we get the 80 degrees. So from the concept of special angles, the sine of 80 degrees is always a half. So let me point out the most critical points on this problem. The first thing is that make sure that you express this in terms of alpha and beta, meaning we must have only two numbers which are different. And here we have many numbers which are different. We have 80 is different from 40, 40 is different from 10, 10 is different from 50. So there are many numbers which are different. So our aim is to make sure that we have two angles which are different. Meaning I can express this in terms of 80 and 50, where 80 represent our alpha and 50 represent our beta. And we implemented that by considering the effect of co-functions. Sine is a cofunction of cos. And we implemented also the idea of complementary angles. The sum of angles that gives us 90 degrees are called complementary. So that's why we say the sine of 40 degrees is equal to the cos of 50 degrees. And the sine of 10 degrees is the same as the cos of 50 degrees because 10 plus 80 gives us 90 degrees. We leave 50 as it is because our objective was to express the whole of this problem in terms of 80 and 50. And you can see that on step number 2 here, we have 80 and 50. And we can point out that our alpha is 80 and our beta is 50. Of course, here we're going to subtract 80 and 50, then we get 80. Then from there we get half. Thank you for watching. And now I will advise you to revise this and do it alone on your page, and make sure that you do follow these steps. Thank you very much for watching. Let's meet on the next example.